Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. It is Tuesday night. It is at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is what you're used to. This is where we are, running on time tonight. You guys are already in the live chat. I am still Dave Schofield, co-editor behind thesteelcurtain.com. And with me, as always, getting ready to finally breathe, is my big brother, Rich. Rich, how are you? That was a good one. That was a good one.
Victory. Oh,
yeah, that was a good one.
I am still the Big Bro Scho, just like you are still the co-editor of Behind the Steel Curtain.
Yeah.
And we are here yet again after taking in another Steeler victory.
And you know what? Steeler Nation enjoyed this win so much better because, I mean, think about it. The Steelers got the lead before Cincinnati ever got an offensive snap. Now, they didn't score on the first drive, but they had the takeaway and on special teams, got the field goal. Cincinnati never had the ball on offense and wasn't trailing in this game. So that was a good thing to do. But it's, big victory. We're going to talk about some of that. We've got lots of things to talk about. We got some things from Mike Tomlin today. We've got, a great win to talk about and another interesting game coming up that we'll get to talk about here in the second half. So, but it's funny because what always happens, something happens in games and everything. And there's one big main talking point that everyone wants to talk about the week after. We talked about it a ton at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. And so much so that Jeffrey Benedict and we did our Steelers Vertex article about the subject today. Mike Tomlin talked extensively about it today, and that would be the Steelers running game.
So we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, well, not that we won't talk about it at all, but that's not going to be the main focus of our show, because I actually sent you a message and said, all right, bro, everyone's talking about the Steelers running game. Let's talk about the defense. So that's where we are going to do some focusing on the defense. Not that we won't mention the running game, but you never really had this one much in doubt on Sunday, did you? I mean, did you ever, I always get excited when the Steeler games come in and a little nervous, and through the first quarter is when I start to really get a feel for how things are going. This one just felt completely different to me. I never felt that it was ever in question.
No, by the second quarter, I started to say, okay, this one's going well. The only thing I worried about was the start of the third quarter. Cincinnati got the ball. I thought, we hold there, don't let them score. Done.
Mm-hmm.
And we held, and they didn't score, and pretty much game over.
Done. Yeah.
I got to relax in the fourth quarter. I didn't need my blood pressure medicine as the game went on. It was actually nice to not be so tense. Actually, my wife was saying, oh, you're not being very loud today.
I wasn't either. You know what? I did a lot of clapping. And a couple woos here and there, but usually the family hears me going ballistic because I get to go down into my own area. Once again, my son joined me for a little while with the game. He likes just to hang out. I tell him, hey, if you want to, I fixed his Nintendo Switch for him. He was dealing with too much drift and had to clean that puppy out. And he was so excited it was working again. He's like, Dad, can I come down and play and while the Steelers are on? I'm like, absolutely. Come on. He's only 9, so he's still getting into it. But
Kyle sits with me the whole game.
I know, Kyle does. And it's funny because the one game we watched together, my son was wanting Kyle to do. I'm like, buddy, Kyle watches the game. Kyle is into this. Kyle even, had – I don't know that we ever announced this, that Kyle did one of the knee jerks one week.
I don't know that we did, but the week of the the week of the Titans game. That was
Oh, so
totally.
now you're going to tell them. I was going to
Yep,
say
I am.
we should make people guess
Yeah,
which week
no.
it was Kyle.
No,
And I mean, I was overseeing it because it's Kyle, but
as was I. But
yeah.
I was traveling and in the car listening on satellite radio, and just Kyle was handling it.
Yeah.
And it got to the end, and I said to Dave, I said, "You wrote that, didn't you?" And he's like, "Nope, that was Kyle." I was like,
that one was
"Dang
Kyle.
on."
That was Kyle. So yeah, we had a couple good things in there. Kyle, it's almost like Kyle and I were trying to one up each other. So it was pretty good. So let's get into things. Before we do, I do want to talk about one programming note.
Yep.
And we don't want to get ahead of ourselves because this Sunday is the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the next time we come to you, when hopefully Rich can be breathing in that sweet smell of victory,
yes,
it's going to be on a short week, not just because it's Thanksgiving, but because the Steelers play on Thanksgiving. So therefore, we're going to have a little bit of a different schedule here at BTSC with our podcasts and everything. So when you're going to hear from us is going to be 6 days from now. It's not going to be your regular Tuesday, 9:00. It's going to be Monday at 9:00 because we're going to try to get some stuff in before the game. When the Steelers played on Monday night, what did we do? We'll get this later on in the season as well. We ran the hangover early. We were late. You had 2 live shows on YouTube the same night, the day after the game. We're going to have to do that this week to get ready for Thursday. So you'll get an early hangover. Yeah, and you'll get an early hangover. Sorry. Don't get too hungover because then we're going into the Scho Bro Show that night. And I'm pretty sure it's not 100% set in stone that we're going to keep Know Your Enemy on Wednesday, but instead, excuse me, we're going to do the preview. Whoa. We're going to do the preview on Tuesday. I hope I'm all right. So, yeah. Do I have gnats flying around in here that I choked on? I don't know what that was. So that we'll do the preview on Tuesday night. So I'll still be here Tuesday night, but it'll be with a couple guys that aren't quite as pretty as the Big Bro Scho. So just to let you guys know about the programming note, this defense, the title of the show was "If Defense Wins Championships, then the Steelers are the team to beat." If defense wins championships and the Steelers are the team to beat. Now, does it mean that the Steelers are right now the best defense in the league? Depends on what you're looking at. Okay. They're really good at takeaways. They're really good at getting to the quarterback. Not too bad at giving up points. Have a tendency to give up some yards at times, various things in and out. But the bottom line is you don't have to be the best defense in the league to win the championship. You just have to be a really good defense and an offense that's doing good things as well. And I think that this was not a flashy defensive performance, if you know what I mean. Not that you're going to be looking at it and you're going to get 8 highlights from defensive plays from the Steelers. But I think this was, in my opinion, probably the most solid defensive performance they've had on the season, in all, because I know there was times where the Steelers have completely shut down the run in some games early on, but then they gave up some stuff on the pass. The reason I think this is the best, I mean, it was how I had to lead off my by the numbers article the day after the game.
Yep.
Other than the score in the turnover margin, what really won this game is 0 for 13.
0 for 13.
Down.
Yep.
I mean, what do you think of that?
That was what was nice. I mean, how many times have we gotten mad because it's like, 3rd and 13 and we give up first downs?
Yeah.
We get teams into 3rd and long and then just give them up, and we just weren't giving them up the other day. And that was huge. Did we give up a few plays that upset me? Sure. Like coming out of halftime and on Cincinnati's first play, giving up an 11-yard run for a first down.
Yeah.
I was like, geez, come on.
You know what that was. You know what that was. That was one play they figured out at halftime that they thought could work. And they ran it the first play.
Yeah.
That's what for someone who used to coach football, if you get the ball coming out of the second half, you're like, oh, I really think this play will work. That's the first thing you run coming out of the half.
In the first half, we had the one blown coverage that gave Higgins that big gainer that Minka ran down.
I didn't get to break that down, but two guys, no idea which person should have been the one covering deep, but everyone got sucked up.
Yeah, they just got messed up in their coverage a little bit and gave up a big one there. Luckily, Minka was, playing that deep safety position, was able to cut him off and not give up a score on it.
Yeah.
But we didn't have we've had some games where our secondaries had 3, 4, 5, several busted coverages, and that was really the main one I noticed. I thought Joe Hayden had a heck of a game, actually.
Yes, he did.
He had studied some film on Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
He knew what Joe Burrow liked to throw. He knew which patterns he liked to throw to the outside there, and he was doing a fantastic job of being right on top of those and not giving them up.
Yeah. And not only that, I thought Minka Fitzpatrick you got to tip your cap to Joe Burrow. He's going to be, he already is a good quarterback. I'm going to say that. I'm not going to knock Joe Burrow because now, did the Steelers do a good job against him? Absolutely. And that's the part of the thing I'm saying is I still feel that they did a good job against a quality quarterback. I think Joe Burrow is, even with his tiny hands, he held on to the ball, threw it in the wind when it was really windy, especially early. But, Minka Fitzpatrick was trying to take advantage. Let's just say this. If that was Baker Mayfield, Minka Fitzpatrick probably gets 3 interceptions.
Yeah, probably.
Because he would have fooled Baker Mayfield into throwing at least 3 of those balls that he would have picked off.
Well,
there was times Minka was right there, perfect position, almost in a position, knowing where the ball was going to go, and Burrow saw it and wisely didn't throw the ball.
Right, so, and the one time it earned us a sack.
Yeah,
because he saw Minka, went to the next read, boom, we hit, down he goes. I was noticing our secondary throw a little bit of the linebackers in there. We were doing a lot of pre-snap movement, and we were doing a lot of show one defense, and at the very last second before the snap, guys were moving and giving a totally different look, and it was really throwing the Cincinnati offense off their game.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to check the lines.
That might have had more impact on the receivers than it was on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was making the correct reads. I noticed a couple times, though, receivers ran routes that they probably shouldn't have run against the defense that they were, they had option routes and they were taking the wrong option.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say to you, I'm going to ask you this, and we'll also go to look at the live chat, see what they have to say. Who do you think right now is the better quarterback at actually dissecting an NFL defense? Joe Burrow or Baker Mayfield?
Joe Burrow.
I think it's Joe Burrow as well. And what? Mayfield's in his 3rd season, and he was a number 1 overall pick. But I already think that Joe Burrow is that much more ahead of Baker. Well, we all know Baker Mayfield sucks. So
hold on, I'll go one further.
Yeah,
let's take the 3 AFC North Heisman winning quarterbacks and ask me which one reads the defense is the best.
Which one reads the defense the best?
For the pass, it's Joe Burrow.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's still
now
it is.
Lamar Jackson does read very well on those.
On the option plays. He's got those down. Yep. So I agree. And I'm saying this for, I don't think we're going to have any Cincinnati trolls in this week, the week after, but I think Joe Burrow is a quality quarterback. I think he has a terrible offensive line and not a good defense to back him up. And
I felt that offensive line played better against the Steelers than they had been played. Yes, we got 4 sacks, but they didn't look nearly as bad as they had.
They
in a
didn't
couple
look
of the
like
games
Swiss
previous.
cheese. They did not. And notice that they were supposed to have one lineup, and they kind of wanted to make a surprise and kind of switch their starting lineup on their offensive line on Sunday. That was kind of interesting. But yeah, dude, I think the defense did what they had to do. I mean, let's look at a couple things. They gave up the one big pass, which then they ended up giving up the touchdown on 4th down. And if you go back and look at it, it was in the first half, so I wouldn't have been throwing a fit about it. And you sometimes don't want to do it to help the offense, because that frustrates me to no end. Is, a couple years ago, I'm still mad that the Steelers on 4th down against the Raiders in Oakland called timeout and let them set up their play because Coach Tom wanted to set up their defense. This time, Steelers should have called timeout. They were rushing their other young guys out on the field. I know Antoine Brooks was one of them. I don't know I can't remember if it was Justin Lane or if it was Marcus Allen or who it was, but the Steelers weren't exactly sure who was going to be doing what off the snap. They should, on that 4th down touchdown that they converted, they should have called timeout because that's a big play there.
And all 3 guys covering were sitting on the same level of the defense when they were out there, which just begged to get picked off. Yeah.
Well, and when I saw that play, I'm like, boy, wouldn't it be nice if you could get it in, like, just for that play specifically with those guys out there, if you could just get a linebacker or someone, if you had somebody extra for someone not at the receiver level, but at mid-level, cut off the slant. You know what I'm saying? Because you almost had a feeling that that's going to happen. They're going to try to rub and come to the inside and take away the slant, let those other guys defend the fade, and there you are. But they weren't. I mean, so that was a play. It wasn't terrible, but it did give up a touchdown. If not, I mean, just think if they stopped them on that play.
Yeah.
Then they have no touchdown. They end up kicking a field goal late. I will be honest with you. Some people are like, why do you bother kicking a field goal when you're down that much? You know why you kick a field goal when you're down that much? Because their quarterback was hurting.
The quarterback was hurting.
That's when he got rolled up on. He was hurting, and you're like, you know what? Let's go kick it. Let's go kick it. Get some points on the board, because your odds of having 4th down with an injured quarterback was tough. And then remember, what set up that drive?
The fake punt.
The fake punt. So the Steelers gave up 139 rushing yards on Sunday. But like I said in my article, 39 of them were on the fake punt. So that's not on the defense. That's on the special teams. Then 22 of those yards were the runs on the last drive after Mason Rudolph had come into the game. So, which tells you at what point the game was. So really the Steelers held him to 70 yards and no running back over 50 for the Bengals. So We'll talk about the Steelers running game just a little bit, but let's hit some of these super chat things. First of all, I do want to say real quick, pretty much everyone in the live chat, I've read it. They were in agreement that, it's Joe Burrow when it comes to stuff. Yeah. He's got he's going to be a good neck up quarterback, in my opinion. So Sean Garrity says the Bungles are the Bungles. Yeah, they are. You know what? They're not as bungly as they used to be, if you know what I mean. They've got a better coach. They've got a smarter quarterback. Give them time and they won't be as bungly. And they're not the same Bungles that you despise that were just a bunch of punks taking cheap shots and stuff years ago. That's not who they are. Now, their fans are no better, unfortunately. I mean, come on. When an article during the game talked about no surprise that Joe Burrow takes a cheap shot on the sidelines, Bud Dupree had his hand out on him and he's running out of bounds. If anything, he's trying to grab him and slow him down. And they tried to say that he was trying to take him out of the game. That's pretty ridiculous. But anyway, that own website, their own users called him out for being ridiculous. So that was one. Here's another one. Feel free to do this. This is from, I'm going to mess this up. I'll just say Scope. For $1.99 in the tip jar says, Steelers Nation, drop your zip code. And they got the 60608. Any idea where that is, Rich? I got no clue. But hey, feel free in the live chat. Go ahead and do that there.
Some folks were doing it.
Yep. Because it jumped ahead. Yeah, I see some lots of sixes there. 25404. Interesting. 45458. Let's get one more. We got a $10 from Joey Jr. Thank you. From Joey Jr. for $10 in the tip jar. He says, "Hi guys. Give a game ball to Sutton, his third game with a forced fumble. Ridiculous." That is pretty good. And you said it knee jerk. He kind of missed the play and actually giving up that reception.
Yeah, he did.
And completely recovered it by going after the ball.
By getting the ball. Yep.
You know?
His coverage was not spectacular to give up the catch, but he didn't give up on the play to chase it down from behind and knock the ball out.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he's really worked on trying to force the ball out on guys. That's why he's, forced several fumbles here of late. So
yeah.
Can't complain about that at all. He's filled in nicely with Mike Hilton out.
Mm-hmm. But he's different.
This is not to be a knock on Cam Sutton, but he's not Mike Hilton.
No, because they're so different. And you know what? Right. They use them differently, and that's why sometimes they use them at the same time. Yeah. Because Sutton is more of that, coverage nickel dime person, where Mike Hilton, that's his weakness. He's almost like a mini linebacker that's coming in and he's blitzing and he's stopping the run and he's taking away some short stuff. But if you're short stuff, that's funny. But he's also not the guy that's going to stick with someone with a, down the field. That's
you don't want Mike Hilton covering the speedster 25 yards down the field.
Yeah. So, out of curiosity, I'm really curious about this. Did you notice a difference in the Steelers with the return of Tyson Alualu?
Some.
Yeah.
I mean, Alualu didn't play that many snaps. Really.
19 snaps, and a lot of them was not at nose.
Yeah,
they played a lot of nickel, big nickel. They would do that.
We went a lot of two interior linemen, Bud and TJ.
Yeah. I mean, there was some with Highsmith getting on the field too. I mean, he's really coming along, man. Well, Highsmith had the same number of snaps. He had 19. They got some Marcus Allen coming in there. Antoine Brooks Jr., I mean, he had 28 snaps. He was just behind Vince Williams. So, I mean, the way they were doing things was quite interesting, but, it was what it was. I just think knowing that when you went base, you had that other veteran, solid guy, and it was good. I think a return of Mike Hilton would be huge as well. And according to Coach Tomlin, looks like it's going to be this week that he's getting ready to make his triumphant return. Possibility of getting Chris Wormley back for some depth on the defensive line. Looks like they're going to start the clock with him this week, according to Mike Tomlin in his press conference. Only guys that were dinged up from the game were Trey Edmonds and Jalen Samuels. So that's just some interesting news.
What was Samuels? I know Edmonds was a hammy.
I think they might have both been hammies, or might have been quad or something. It's funny because as soon as he said it, I'm like, oh, that's a soft tissue injury. Not surprised for someone like that coming back from not being at practice all week. So I'm trying to look it up real quick because I believe it or not, I actually have the transcript.
Brad Jewett says both are hammy.
Both are hammies? Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to Jalen Samuels had a quad. Okay, is what he said. Edmund the hamstring. Okay. So one's the front of the leg, one's the back. They're both thigh injuries. So you're right. We'll say both thigh injuries. So you were on that, Brad. Good job. So let's talk about the run game real quick. Did you get to read the Vertex article today, Rich? It was a long one. It was. And
I
it
did
came out
not.
late in the day.
I saw
Yeah.
it when it came out. I
Mhm.
did not get to go read it.
Yeah, I know,
I'm sorry.
because I know you were even rushing to get here tonight with me. So I know that's on your to-do list. Now, I've got to say this to you all out there listening in podcast world, even on YouTube. If I know there's some of you out there that you don't go to the site. You don't. You like your audio stuff, and that's what you want. Just like there's people on the site that they're not interested in podcasts, to each their own. I have a challenge for you, though. I stumbled across something. I can't believe my boss didn't send this out to us, from SB Nation saying that this was happening. But something I stumbled across today, mentioned it to one Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman. He's like, really? He's like, on your phone too? I said, yeah, on my phone. He's like, I'm checking that out. I put it in our staff Slack channel. Jeffrey jumped in there. He's like, this is great. If you go to behindthesteelcurtain.com and you click on an article right now, you have the title, then you have what we call the deck, which is basically like the subtitle. Then you have a byline, which is funny because now the article I clicked on just didn't happen. It happened to not have this. And then right below that, you have this new little thing going on that has a little play button there. That they have it to where you can listen to the article. That an algorithm. Now it's funny because sometimes they screw up names. Like it was Fitchner. Was one that they were talking about, Randy Fitchner, and Eric Ebron. But other than that, you could actually listen to the articles. Now it's funny because right now on my website, it's not on my laptop, it's not loading. As I'm looking at it here, and I don't even know what I did with my phone to see if it's even working there. But that was a feature that they had going on today.
Sure. See,
check it out.
You're going to advertise something that's not really out there.
No, it was there all day. It's no joke. It was there all day. I'm like, I got to talk about this on the podcast. And then all of a sudden I go now, and I'm like, so it might depend on your operating system. It's funny because then I had a computer problem. I wonder if that was part of it, but I don't want to say that. And I'm just seeing if it worked for me for mobile, because that's where I had it earlier, it was coming up on mobile. Yep, it's right there in my mobile right now. It says, listen to this article. So it might depend on what operating system you have, but if you see if it's there, check it out. If you're like, oh man, I'm out of podcasts, even though we have 4 or 5 going every day, I'm out of podcasts. I don't know what to listen to. Go listen to an article. So just thought I'd throw that out there. Check it out. Before we finish up this game, Rich, the run game. Any thoughts?
It's just not where it needs to be. We're just not pushing anybody off the line. Well, you heard it. You saw it in my knee jerk. It was like, and it was funny because people commented on that one line probably more than anything, where it was like, there we go, running wide to the left again. We've done it 3 times. It's lost 4 yards every time.
Yeah.
Why don't we try a different play?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because for the Vertex article, Jeffrey tipped me off to this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, the stats are crazy. And I gave him all the credit of figuring out how to do it, where the breaking point was. It was pre-Tennessee and post-Tennessee, because Jeffrey says Mike Variable showed what to do to stop the Steelers' run game, and people have been copying it, and the Steelers haven't figured it out yet. And so if you didn't get a chance to, go check out the Steelers Vertex article on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. I can even I don't know if it'll show up on there, that it's a little play button right here underneath the title. You can kind of see it when I showed it on YouTube. It's pretty cool. And like Wes said, he's like, I'll listen to every article if that's there. But the stats changed for the Steelers in the running game before from up to the Titans game and after the Titans game, the first 5 and the last 4. And what ultimately changed was the outside run, where the Steelers were doing fantastic with the outside run. To start, they were averaging, let's see, where do I have it here? They were averaging 6.5 yards per carry in 62 attempts, running either to the tackles or the ends or beyond. This was according to Pro Football Reference, how they break down where the plays go. They had 19 plays of 10 yards or more. When they ran to the right, they averaged 8.8 yards a carry and 6 plays of 10 yards or more. And when they ran to the left, they had 4.4 yards a carry with three plays of 10 yards or more. And I also went in and I included the negative yardage, how that compared. But what's crazy is when you look at the outside runs, this might be easier to look at it right here. I have it on my handy dandy Stat Geek notebook. For the outside runs, they were 6.5 yards per carry the first 5 games, 2.1 yards per carry the last 4. Okay. 3 yards per carry going to the right, 1.3 going to the left, and the number of negative plays, basically a third. 1/3 of their running plays to the outside the last 4 games have gone for 0 or negative yards. Now you're like, oh, well, maybe that's just running the ball bad altogether. Not when you compare it to the inside runs. And the inside runs, the first 5 games, they were getting 3.6 yards per carry. And the last 4 games are getting 3.8 yards per carry. So, which is really, really close. It's slightly better more recently. So what's going on is teams are selling out on the outside runs because Jeffrey was breaking it down that when the Steelers go to run outside, they are telling the world they're running outside.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. They're telling the world they're running outside and saying, stop it. And they're sending everybody to stop it. The offensive line is not getting pushed.
Not just that. It's also not just that, they're telling everybody they're going to do that. We're still having the tendency to just tell everybody when we're running the ball.
Yeah.
Period.
Which was our complaint last year.
Correct.
Every time they went jumbo, you're telling them you're running. And Jeffrey broke down a play of where they're like, when you see the jet sweep motion, maybe once a game, the Steelers throw the ball. And when they did it last week, it was with less than a minute left to go in the third quarter. He had Eric Ebron wide open because of where they were selling out to stop the jet sweep. And he took a deep shot to Chase Claypool and said that was incomplete. Took the deep shot, but he did have the wide open guy on that. So if you're going to run the jet sweep and then pass the ball, you like Jeffrey says, he normally loves it when Ben takes a deep shot, but those are the types of plays where you need to make them pay because you need to get them out of jumping on that motion. So Coach Tomlin talked about it extensively today. What else do you want to say about it? I can tell you got something else you want to say.
Well, how many times did we talk about before the season that we couldn't wait to see what we would do because we could put Connor, TJ Watt.
You mean Derek Watt?
Yeah, Derek Watt.
Okay.
Like, now you could even say, like, Juju and Chase Claypool and Eric Ebron. Okay. You could put those 5 in the game.
12, right?
See what, yeah. So, and then say, okay, what are you going to throw out there defense? Are you going to, are the guys you put in the game going to set up to try to stop us running or passing? And then we're going to do exactly the opposite.
Yes, that's the kind of
we
stuff
haven't done it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Jeffrey really broke it down, and he's saying it's kind of like the Steelers are running 2 different offenses right now. They're running the Ben Roethlisberger, Randy Fichtner, Ben drawing up stuff in the dirt like stuff, yada, yada, yada. And they're running the Matt Canada motion stuff. And the 2 aren't meshing. And when the 2 aren't meshing, you're getting either one or the other. And Ben doesn't like throwing the ball out of all the motion stuff right now. So you kind of know what's happening. But I saw a comment, I don't remember who it was a while ago in the live chat, that this is the good thing about the Steelers run game. Mike Tomlin talked about it extensively to start his press conference today. And about it, something they want to improve. It hasn't been doing well, under 50 yards each of the last 3 games, but the Steelers have still won. They've still won. So we're going to take a break with that right now because I'm going to come back and tell you what needs to happen with that moving forward, just to keep it in perspective. So if you're listening on the audio side, go ahead and click on over to part 2. And if you're with us here on YouTube, hold on for about 8 seconds or less, and we will be right back. And we are back in under 8 seconds for those of you here on YouTube. This is part 2 of the Scho Bro Show. I am behind the steel curtain co-editor Dave Schofield with my big brother Rich, who is still breathing in that sweet smell of victory. Aren't you, bro?
Yes.
I mean,
yes. I mean, I've got to do that every week so far.
Yeah.
I love it.
So we were focusing mainly on the defense and the great performance that they had. We're going to expand on that more, what that means going forward. But we were finishing up talking about the run game and its ineffectiveness, but yet the Steelers are still winning. But we're going to talk about that going forward. Before we do, coming here into part 2, we already have a super chat. So we want to make sure I find there it is. Okay. $5 into the tip jar from Matt Stofko. Did I say that right? Stofko?
That's why you say it.
We appreciate that, Matt. He says, just go watch old Jerome Bettis video highlights and get your run fixed to chase the 9.0. If you don't like how the Steelers aren't running, enjoy the 9-0. Go watch some vintage Steelers stuff. That's pretty funny. So as I try to click off of that. So that's a good thing. Good point. The Steelers are 9-0. They haven't had to have the run game. The problem is when you have something that doesn't work. The only question is, at what point did you take it too far without fixing the problem? You know what I'm saying? Same thing that the Steelers were, and this is why I think they're going to get it right, because think about what was happening with the Steelers and their third downs on defense. That Mike Tomlin was talking about those in his press conference. Steelers were giving up way too many third down conversions, particularly third and long. We talked about it a bunch. You love to talk about that one, don't you, Rich?
Oh. Nothing more annoying than you do everything you need to on first and second down and then blow it on third down.
Blow it on third down. Then you come out, do everything you need to on first and second down again, and blow it on third down again. Yep. You know, and when it happens 2 or 3 times a drive, it's just so deflating. Coach Tomlin said, we've got to fix this. We're going to get this right. Now, is it right for good? I hope so. I don't know, but I tell you what, you can't get any more right than what it was on Sunday when they have 0 for 13. You don't get any more right than that. So the fact that Coach Tomlin brought it up on his own, talked about it so much about this run game, it goes to show they're going to work on this. They know this is important because it's great. They're 9-0, but the question is, at what point is it going to come back and bite you that you don't have it? And the last thing you want that to do is to be in a key game down the stretch, or even worse, in the postseason.
Yeah.
So you got some time to get it right. You got to keep working on it. They can get it right. But you know what they're also doing? They're not just constantly saying, well, we got to stick with the run until we can fix it. We got to stick with it until we can fix it. They're also doing what they need to do to win the game. Like they did in Dallas. Like they did against Baltimore.
There were a couple of times in the game the other day where I turned to Kyle and said, they'll run it here. You know, and we didn't. And that, to me, actually, I thought then helped us in the game. We ran the ball less and actually got less predictable by running the ball less.
Yeah.
Because there were several downs where I thought for sure we would run the ball, and we did not.
Yeah. But we talk about everyone knows that the Steelers are going to run based on what they're doing. How many times, even as Steeler fans, and you can even say that, of course, this is going on the field, it's commercial break. And you know the first play coming back is going to be a run before you even see who is out on the field. And you know what the Steelers need to do? They need to bring that package out there like it's going to be a run and throw the ball on first down. And you know what? If you get an incompletion, even if it's 2nd and 10, then you come out with your passing formation and you sneak in a run. then oh my goodness, you're not just telling them exactly what you need to do all the time. And you don't have to do it all the time, just enough to keep them guessing. I mean, because I really think that the biggest problem right now is that they are establishing what they do in a given situation. The only time they don't is when Ben is stacking his receivers and you really have no clue what they're going to do based on how you're lined up. And that's how they're burning you. That's the Steelers go to, because they know that you can't figure that out, because no matter how you guess, you're going to be wrong, because the only way that works is if your receivers are on the same page with your future Hall of Fame quarterback. And that's what's happening there. So that should be the Steelers' fallback plan. But it's not going to get you forever, because if you show it too much, then you're kind of run out of options. Anything you want to say about that before we jump into another super chat?
Well, it just ends up being interesting because it shows what we're probably right now. I think it shows what we're probably a little better at right now. Teams, when we come out and show run and teams see it and know we're going to run and we go nowhere.
Yeah.
We bring out a whole bunch of receivers and line up and they know we're going to pass. They still can't stop it.
Yep.
So right now we are a dominant passing team.
Short passing team. Yeah.
Yeah. We have not been a dominant running team. We were more towards the beginning of the year, but we have not been the last 3 games. We do not look like a dominant running team.
And Jeffrey, it's no man. I'm going to get to your super chat here in just a minute, but we're getting on a roll. Jeff on a roll here. Jeffrey brought this up. It's a really good point, where they say how the pass sets up the run and the run sets up the pass at times. You got to realize something. It's the long pass that sets up the run, and the run that sets up the long pass or the deep pass, because I think that's what teams are trying to do against the Steelers is they are trying to defend the short pass and the run by bringing everybody up. And by defending the short pass so much, they're actually also really defending the run. So you get a couple of those, deep shots. It was really great to see that one to Deontay Johnson. I mean, come on, the Steelers scored a touchdown on a 3-play drive that went 70-some yards, wasn't it? That's crazy. So
there
that was
something
fantastic.
I liked about that completion that he threw to Deontay that did not look anything like the long shots he was trying to hit Chase Claypool. Okay. That throw to Deontay. Now, let me start with the ones to Claypool. Okay. The ones that he throws towards Claypool, he's putting way too much air under it and trying to.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
The one that he threw to Deontay was a little more on a rope.
Well, yes. It needed to be into the wind some too. But here's the thing. I was thinking more like he hit him more in stride than he does with Claypool. Claypool, he throws the ball up and is expecting the big receiver to adjust and go get it.
Yes.
At times.
Yes.
Where that one, now Deontay had to adjust. He had to come back in, but it was still in stride. Right. I felt like on that pass. So it's coming. And that was with no practice all week. We got to remember. Sure. The reason I've been holding off on Snowman's question is because it's going to take a little bit of an answer here. So I'm going to bring it up now. And then we're going to get back to defense and talk about that.
It's an easy answer.
No. It's not. I'll let you answer it, and then I'll tell you how you're wrong. So go ahead. Because Snowman says, if we beat the Ratbirds Thanksgiving night, do the Steelers win the division? Go ahead, Rich.
Chances are better than 90%.
Yeah, they have a good chance. It doesn't seal it.
Correct. Does not seal it. But
and here's why.
I'm crazy. It could technically, it's technically not the nail in the coffin, but it might actually be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. Honestly, first I want to say this. When it comes to
that's relying on one thing. That's relying on the fact that I hate to ever do that, but I'm figuring we're still going in undefeated.
Yeah.
So really, I could give a better answer to that next Monday.
Yes. Next Monday we'll have a much better, because we know how we'll get to the Jacksonville stuff here very shortly. But this is what I'm going to say, okay? I really like the fact that purple team lost this past week. because I was like, oh, they might be coming off a loss to Tennessee because Tennessee matches up with them strong in the past. Different team, different stuff. Part of that is I think Mike Vrabel can figure out defenses to try to shut down certain things. And I think Mike Vrabel can shut down the Ravens offense. That's me personally. I don't know if he will this week in Baltimore. Here's why. Because they're coming off of that loss. They've got a poor, they are now coming off a loss to the Patriots, which was really weird rooting for the Patriots. A loss to the Patriots that now they've got to bounce back. They have to bounce back now. They got to be so focused on this game coming up and got to pour so much into this team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. Now coming off of a loss, if they win this game, that's fine. Then do they have a little bit of a letdown for the quick game on Thursday? Right. That's a possibility. If they lose this game, they're in trouble. So that's interesting. We're going to know a lot more Monday. But to answer this question, I'm still leaving it up there more, is the reason that I don't say this is because I'm not convinced right now, and I'll know a lot more next Monday. I'm not convinced that purple team is the team that the Steelers have to worry about the most in the AFC North. Because right now, both the Ravens and Browns are 6-3. The Ravens, they've got to play Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Giants, and the Bengals. Yeah, they don't have all that much. Honestly, once they get past Tennessee and Pittsburgh, their biggest game left is the Browns.
Yep.
Everyone else has losing records. So they only have 3 games left with teams with winning records. But also look at the Browns here. The Browns have, where did it go? I lost it. They've got the Eagles this week. They don't have a winning record. Then they got the Jaguars. Then they got the Titans and the Ravens. Then they got 2 back-to-back games in New York against both New York teams. And then the Steelers end the season. I don't know that it's going to be out of reach for everyone when the Steelers, I'm hoping it will be by the time they play the Browns. I like that they don't play them till the very last week of the season because by then you'll know. But you might be surprised if the Ravens stumble to Tennessee or if the Steelers beat them, you're going to find yourself rooting for them to beat the Browns. Seriously. Yeah. In order for the Steelers to lock up the North because of the schedules and the way they pan out. I still think that the Steelers, they have, in my opinion, they have the hardest schedule of the three AFC North teams remaining. I say 3 because, Cincinnati is basically out of it now because they have to play teams with winning records. They have to play the Ravens, the Bills, the Colts, and the Browns. Interesting stuff. I know you got another super chat to get to here, and then we've got to start. I think we have another super chat here. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I found it. Yeah. This is from Grayson Brown, $9.99 the tip jar. Thank you very much. She said, "Hey bros, any chance our run D and O has been impacted by the game situations? Baltimore and Dallas, they were behind. Tennessee, the run was strong. I think the slow starts have a lot to do with it. Yeah, when you're behind, you've got to make sure you're doing what you can to get back in the game. But you still should be able to run the ball at least somewhat in the first half, regardless.
Yep.
And when your answer to get back in a game 2 weeks in a row is abandon the run, that's, not even sprinkling it in a little bit. That's what has it a little bit concerning. So this defense, I keep saying the defense, if defense wins championships, the Steelers are the team to beat because they've got a good enough offense to put up points. But if you can't, as Coach Tom says, if they can't score, you can't lose. So that's something that the defense has got to make sure that they keep doing. Jacksonville. How do you feel about that, Rich?
I see that as potentially being another game where our defense could really hold the score down low on them.
Mm-hmm.
And because I feel our defense can do that, our offense will score enough points and we'll win.
Do you remember the last time the Steelers played in Jacksonville?
In Jacksonville?
Yes.
I don't know.
You know what that one was? That
What
one was game over, but luckily Ryan Switzer drew, well, basically 3 penalties. They could have called it. They could have called 3 different penalties on that play. They could have called holding, pass interference, or face mask. And remember, that's the one that to finish the game, I mean, there was single-digit seconds left when Ben Roethlisberger keeps the ball and dives for the end zone, runs into the back of Matt Filer, but still manages to break the plane and for them to win the game. So no, the Steelers won the last time they were in Jacksonville, but they were heavy favorites and they were losing and had to win it at the last second. It was the next week when it was the same situation all over again against Denver, and they didn't pull it out. So that's what it was. So no, Kyle, you were not there. You were there the time before.
No, he said no.
The last time the Steelers played the Jags, he was there. That's the last time they played at Heinz Field. Yeah, yes. The last time they played at Heinz Field because they did. It wasn't last year. It was infamous 2018.
Correct.
That they I think it was 20-16 was the final score. I think something like that. Something like that. But this is still a different Jags team. I mean, they really are. I was looking at some of their stuff, and their losses and whatnot. Ever since their bye week, they've been doing much better. I mean, coming out of their bye, they lost by 2 to Houston and by 4 to Green Bay. Their defense, Coach Tomlin mentioned this today, Green Bay does not turn the ball over. And they got 2 turnovers on them.
Yes.
So they can take the ball away. They just can't put it all together. But they're not getting – I think their worst defeat of 2 different times this year, they've lost by 18 points. And those games were they lost at home to the Lions by 18 points. And then they also lost at home to the Dolphins by 18 points. They actually play a little bit better. Then they had a 16-point loss at Houston. But then at home, they only lost by 2. You know, they actually play a little bit better on the road, it looks like right now. But don't get me started with the Steelers. Because the Steelers, their last 2 home games, what is it? They've got a combined – they've won by a combined 57 points in 2 games, their last home games. And their last 3 road games, they've won by 12 points total. 12 points total in their last 3 road games. Now, 2 of them were really tough games. So – that's the biggest thing that's going on here, but it's so funny because I think I got to look this up for Stat Geek, is that I think the Steelers actually do better in Jacksonville than they do at home against the Jaguars. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're correct there. If I'm remembering some of the games that we actually play them better there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's something that I was going to break down for the Stat Geek. I didn't get that going for tonight. But it's one of these things. The reporters are even asking Coach Tom today about they using the term trap game. I think it was Albie Oxenreiter asked about the trap game. And Coach Tomlin, yes, good old Albie Oxenreiter. Although the problem was his mic
here's
cut
the
out
scary
for
part. I remember when he started in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So
I remember. Who did he? Trying to remember who he started with. Did he start with WTAE? They teased it for a couple weeks because they were using his name. So,
yeah.
But anyway,
well, Coach Tomlin was talking about the whole notion of a trap game. He's like, he's not into that discussion. He says, I understand that things that people like to talk about. He says, but this is the NFL. These are professionals. He's like, it's not. I think he actually said this. I don't want to get this wrong. He said, we are not a Big Ten team playing a MAC opponent this week. These are all professionals. That's his point. So that other team's still getting paid money to come out there and try to stop you. So you say a trap game because, to me, any game you're favored by double digits on the road is one of those where you're like, but I tell you, the difference to me, The difference is when it is what's carrying you. When your offense is carrying you, and then you're just kind of like, oh, they're not all together on the road in a big game like this. I don't know. But when your defense is carrying you, your defense generally shows up. So that's what really needs to show up for the Steelers on Sunday. If their defense shows up, then their offense doesn't have to do nearly as much to win the game. What do you think?
Yeah, I do, and you will see that reflected in my prediction here in a little bit.
Yeah,
here you got your dingo dollars. You remember dingo dollars you got to get to.
Oh, I have to apologize to Mark. I really do. I listened to the touchdown on Saturday, and that whole Jennifer Lopez thing. I do have to say this. That's something that's a quote from Jeff Hartman that it was on and probably knowing him is probably Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something like that because he loves that TV show. But it was some quote from a TV show or movie that they said that's all you need to know in order to have an Australian accent is to say that. So I know the Australian guys are really confused by it, but that's where that came from. But I'm really bad because he gave a good term, and when they give their Australian lingo, and I was going to use it on the post game show, but I didn't write it down and forgot what the word was. So I apologize, Mark. I was going to give you guys a shout out doing that. I was really disappointed. But he says, "Good day, fellas."
Good day, fellas.
Does our offense score on the first drive or the second drive? Cheers. So, what is it, Rich?
What you want my answer? Field goal.
Yes,
first.
that's my answer. Yes, they score on the first or second drive.
Yeah. I can see another week where we get one of those first drive field goals.
Yes. Get some points on the board, turn around, find the touchdown zone on the second drive.
I'm sure
10 points in the first quarter.
Oh, I don't know if Kyle's still watching. I'm surprised Kyle didn't say, nope, not on the first drive. First drive will be double R, double P.
Yeah, you got to know if they're going to come out. And you know, I have to admit, as a coach, I am pretty sure I called the same play the first play of every game. I'm pretty sure that I did when I was the head coach / offensive coordinator my last 2 years coaching, but it wasn't varsity football. So it's not like you were diving into a ton of the other team's film to break down their tendencies when you were looking at the JV and freshman level. You were just going out there to try to do your stuff the best you could. So there's a lot of times I have to admit, there might have been a couple of times I didn't, but I might have called the same play on the first offensive play of every game.
Hold on.
So
got to call out the boy. Kyle says both drives will be double R, double P. Incorrect, son. No. Sorry to tell you. Nope. If we do that on our first drive, there's no way you see that on the second drive.
Yeah. Oh, Rich, we've got the best compliment of the night.
There you go.
We were given the thumbs up from the Aussie himself with the accent. That was both of us saying that, so I'm going to say that goes to both of us. Love it.
Actually, Mark, I've had some. I don't know. I've had several RAs work for me in the past that were from Australia. So I have been around and heard them, talk and the way it goes. So I've had plenty of time to practice up on mine.
And it's so funny because my wife always knows whenever I've just listened to the Touchdown Under podcast because she's like, because I can't help it. I start talking that way. And she's like, you're listening to Australia guys again, weren't you? I'm like, yes, I was.
Yes, I was.
But I know we're getting off topic and we got to wrap it up here.
We got to get
what's your go-to Australian accent? Jeff's is Jennifer Lopez, which I think is terrible. Mine is it's got to be Wedding Singer. It's got to be Billy Idol, right? If you ever really got to bust it out, you got to do that, right? So, all right.
Sorry, mine is Paul Hogan, Crocodile Dundee.
That's a knife.
No, that's a knife. So, hey, we got another.
Oh, wait, we both clicked on it at the same time.
Okay, there you go.
I'm just going to say Brett because I'm going to mess up how you actually pronounce that. $1.99 to the tip jar. Thank you very much. How is that? Brett, I don't know.
I don't know.
How many passing TDs do you predict for Ben? I'm going to let
3.
you answer this. You're going to go 3. You're going to go 3.
Yes.
I think it might be down to 2. I think they might try to force the run some. But Rich, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready for the prediction? This is what we've been doing every week. I think you all like it because you give the prediction.
I'm more prepared this week. I've actually thought about it.
All right. And then everyone else, after I type it in the live chat, I will read a bunch of your scores for as much time as we have. Okay. Okay. I just got an explanation. It's Brett My, as in Myers. Okay. There we go.
Gotcha.
So excellent. Rich.
All right.
What do we expect Sunday?
Okay, here's what we expect Sunday. Defense shows up, pretty much does their job. Offense, not spectacular, but gets us out in front early enough. The game's never in question. Steelers 24, Jags 13.
You know what? I had a score in mind of what I thought you were going to guess, and I almost got it perfect. You know what I thought you were going to say?
What's that?
24-12. That was what I had in my mind of not what I was going to say, but what I thought you were going to say.
Right.
I did pretty good there. So here we go. The word scores is now in the live chat. I will bring up any score for the last couple minutes that I can. Oh, people were ready for him. Cree, first one, 31-9. Oh, wait, he wasn't the first one.
Brad
was ahead of him. Brad said 26-13. Mule.
Similar to mine.
27-20. Kyle, 27-19. The question is, do you think the Jaguars will score that many points? Because it looks like it's not Gardner Minshew again. He's still trying to get back.
That could be a junk touchdown at the end.
That could be.
That's what would get you that kind of score.
Steeler Chick 46 says 27-10 Steelers.
That's not bad.
Dusk 31-21. Black and gold goggles. I love that. I actually used that. I used that term when I first took over as during the Jeff Hartman absence when I had to when I was editor all by myself. I mentioned that. Steelers 32, Jags 13. Ben with 300 yards and 2 TDs. Connor gets 100 plus on a TD. That would be really welcome.
That would be a solid offensive game from us.
Okay. President-elect Mike O'Malley says 31-13. Noman says 30-16. Steelers Pittsburgh 30-9. Ryan Kellerman 30-13. Brett Mai 36-13 says they start to crank it up. I messed his name up for the longest time where it was Kelvin Colbert. 31-17. Here we got Felicia. Hey, Felicia. 28-17. Here's a good one from Captain Underpants. 49-6. Man.
Okay.
Boy, would that be a really nice Sunday. That would be a really good one. Double HH 33-13 again. He was close last week. George Teston says 46-12. Okay. Mule says it's going to be another heart pumper. I hope not, but
it'd be either.
I'm hoping it's not, but I'm going into it expecting it.
I don't think I could handle another heart pumper followed by having to play the purple team on Thursday. I don't know if that's enough time to recover. Oh.
So Snowman says 38-10 Steelers. Ryan 17-13. Richard McKinney 35-7. Good guys. Dylan says 24-6. He never wanted to say he didn't say 24-7. Okay. Rich 21-17. Rich Evans, sorry, not you, Rich. 21-17. Depressed Steeler fan 30-17. Why are you depressed? 9-0, baby. 9-0. People were saying goodnight to Brad because he knows we're signing off here. Here's a gutsy one. Sean Garrity, 35-0.
35 zip.
That's interesting.
Gutsy
Mark Davison, 24-0.
Uh-oh.
Now remember, this is usually Heinz Field South. Remember, this is where you get a lot of Steeler fans. Yeah. You really do. Okay, young boy, 30-12. And And Kathy said I had a good Lance accent when I said hey to Felicia. I thought I saw another one. Chris said 34-17. Matt Stofko, I think I got that right this time. 27-17. That would be a push, just so you know, because right now it is a 10-point margin. Okay, Captain Underpants says his bold prediction: a TD from Dobbs and a TD from Rudolph. How are they both active?
Yeah.
How are they both active? I don't see them both being active, but that would be crazy.
That's why it's so bold.
That's bold. That's bold. And Yin's Nation says 21-6. So we're going to call it a show there with those numbers coming out. Remember, we said it in part 1. We're going to say it again in part 2. Programming alert. We have to mention this because the next time we will see you all with Rich and I together will be in 6 days from now. We are going to run the Scho Bro Show next Monday. It'll be Monday at 9 o'clock. It will be after the hangover, which will be around 5 o'clock on Monday. Tuesday night, if you tune in around the same time, you're going to see me, but you're going to see Brian Anthony Davis and Jeff Hartman because that's when we'll be doing the preview to preview Thursday's game. And know your enemy as far as we know. Now, the only way those two things could change is if there's a problem with it being the night before the game with getting someone in for the know your enemy spot. So that would be the only reason that we would have a change there. So we have that, but we're still going to plan on bringing you all stuff. You know, then you're like, what about the weekend? If the post game's Thursday night, you know what? We're going to do some kind of show on Sunday. We will. Whether it all depends on how everything goes between now and then. There will be some other show in place of the post-game show on Sunday in order to fill in. I'm going to at least say that now because if nobody else does it, you know, as long as I'm still alive and kicking, then I'll do it.
I'm hoping I'll go on and do it with you if I have to on that Sunday. If we're 11-0. We could have the Scho Bro 11-0 show.
Oh, the Scho Bro 11-0 show. That would be great because that's yeah. Well, remember, you and I will be back. I was going to say, the next time we talk now, because you and I will be back next Monday, just to go over the Jags game and to preview the Ravens one. So,
yep.
Great time. Make sure you're checking out BehindTheStillCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. Make sure if you're listening just on YouTube, check out the audio. We have a lot of options in just audio that you have out there for podcasts if that's what you enjoy is listening to stuff. And if you're listening to this in podcast form and you're like, I wish there was more, seriously, check it out, especially on your phone. You should be able to go into, I don't know if it's every article, but most articles, hopefully. A new feature that they're offering is that you can listen to the article being read to you. And no, it's not me reading. It's a much better voice. So that's all we have tonight. Thank you all for joining us. Rich, we'll be back in 6 days, hopefully talking about another Steelers victory.
Can't wait.